This presentation provides an overview of the watershed and ecological services provided by Comprehensive Environmental. CEI is a civil and environmental engineering firm incorporated in 1987. We are employee-owned with offices in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. CEI employs over 35 people, including professional engineers, environmental scientists, lake managers, and geologists. Our civil engineering department specializes in drinking water supply, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure, as well as transportation and flooding issues. Our environmental services department specializes in hazardous waste remediation, watershed and ecological services, and permitting and environmental compliance. CEI's primary watershed and ecological services staff include Bob Hartzell, a principal scientist and certified lake manager with over 25 years experience serving as project manager for numerous water resources, watershed assessment, and ecological restoration projects. Rebecca Balke, a principal engineer with over 25 years experience in the areas of watershed management, stormwater, BMP design, LID techniques, water quality, modeling, and flood management. Dave Roman, a senior engineer with over 10 years of experience in water resources engineering, and Emily DeFranco, a senior scientist with over 10 years of experience conducting watershed planning projects and complex water quality investigations throughout New England. CEI has experience in a range of watershed and ecological fields, including watershed planning, lake and pond management, water quality monitoring and modeling, wetland assessment, mitigation and restoration, climate resiliency planning, and ecological drone services. CEI has worked with Pennachuck Waterworks for multiple years to develop a comprehensive watershed protection program. This program includes the development of a watershed plan, annual surface and groundwater sampling, BMP design and implementation, invasive species studies, ecological drone surveys, and an annual public education and outreach program that includes visiting 5th grade classrooms throughout the Pennachuck Brook watershed. CEI has worked on multiple EPA-approved 9-element watershed-based plans, including a plan for Bantam Lake, the largest natural lake in Connecticut. The goal of this plan was to identify actions to reduce nutrient loading and harmful algal blooms. CEI recently worked with the Wild and Scenic Westfield River Committee to develop a stewardship plan for the Westfield River. The primary goal of this plan was to develop a strategy to protect water quality, ecology, historic and cultural resources, and the scenic qualities of the Wild and Scenic Westfield River. The plan process included public outreach, as well as the assessment of funding options and the development of a list of actions to provide next steps for the Wild and Scenic Westfield River Committee. CEI is currently working with the Upper Merrimack Watershed Association and the Southern New Hampshire Regional Planning Commission to develop an EPA-approved 9-element watershed plan for the Turkey River. The primary goal of this plan is to identify actions to reduce nutrient loading and harmful algal blooms. CEI worked with Manchester Waterworks to develop an aquatic vegetation assessment and management plan for Lake Massabesic. This plan involved inventory and mapping of aquatic vegetation within Lake Massabesic, as well as developing protocols for rapid response to new areas of invasive species. As part of the comprehensive watershed management program developed by CEI for Pennachuck Waterworks, CEI continues to conduct annual surface and groundwater monitoring within the Pennachuck Brook watershed. This ongoing sampling allows CEI to track trends and provide baseline for health of the watershed and water supply. It also supports prioritization for watershed improvements. CEI scientists are experts at wetland assessment, and we have worked at multiple Superfund sites to delineate and assess wetland functions and values and to develop mitigation plans for wetlands impacted during site remediation. During the mitigation process, we are also able to assess other site ecological factors, including carbon sequestration and carbon storage for forested areas. CEI has worked with multiple municipalities in Massachusetts to develop municipal vulnerability preparedness plans to address risks from climate change. This process involves identifying vulnerable populations, infrastructure, and natural resources within the towns that may be affected by climate change. CEI has then worked with many of these communities on follow-up implementation projects identified during the planning process. CEI offers a wide range of ecological drone services, including contaminated site remediation, ecological assessments for forest health, wetland change and cyanobacteria blooms, vegetation mapping, and watershed investigations, including detection of failing septic systems, shoreline services, and land cover mapping. CEI's ecological drone services include the use of thermal and near-infrared cameras. These specialized cameras allow us to assess the health of vegetation. CEI worked with Manchester Waterworks on a source water protection forestry assessment of the Lake Massabesic watershed. In this project, we conducted a rapid drone assessment of forest land owned by Manchester Waterworks to identify areas where insect and pathogens were affecting forest health. These types of cameras have also been used to identify failing and malfunctioning septic systems throughout a watershed. Thank you for listening. Please contact if you have any questions.